yesterday, I was on X, which I do like once in a blue moon because that place is crazy. And what's happening? Of course, somebody's under fire. The latest victim is our ICT minister. I won't say her name, but then she is under fire for going around calling herself doctor. And then people are saying that, she doesn't actually have a doctorate because she was given an honorary doctorate, which was later revoked by a court order. And then she said, but no, I'm actually a candidate for a doctorate. And it came out that she had actually said on LinkedIn that she enrolled in 2019, and it's just a whole back and forth, which ends with her admitting that no, she's still studying for her doctorate, but doesn't actually have one. And this is not a unique story in Zimbabwe. I think almost every month, every week, there's somebody who doesn't have 5 O-levels or doesn't actually finish a course. People buy degrees, and there's an obsession with titles, with academic qualifications. You can't just have a degree, you need a master's, or you need a PhD, and everybody wants to be a doctor somebody. And that's what I want to talk about today. Like, one, why is this such a thing in the developing world? Like, why are we so obsessed with that academic qualification? And two, is it really still relevant? Like, I look at, say, maybe someone in high school today who thinks, I need to get my degree and my master's, and then I'm going to get the perfect job and live happily ever after.
It's a lie!
So let's talk about it.
You know what's funny? So about Exa, there's actually a picture of her in the red couch.
Every time I see
and like the cap, and it's so I'm assuming this is like the honorary doctorate that she did get.
Yeah.
But
every time I see her, do you know what song I sing? Studio 263.
Why?
Because she was an actress.
She was.
Girl. Oh, yes.
263. Yes. That's where you want to be. Studio 263.
Okay, wait. So can we go down this list? Is she... Well, she says she was an actress, so she isn't. We know that. We've seen her act.
I don't even remember.
And then she says she has a Bachelor of Honors in Management and Marketing from the Women's University. She has a Master's in Strategic Marketing from MSU. She has a Master's in Development Studies from WUA. I'm assuming that's the Women's University.
So wait, and then she's a lady who has marketing qualifications is now the ICT minister.
Yes, because now she's a PhD candidate in doctorate in business leadership, majoring in digital marketing and information systems from MSU, and then a diploma in shipping, couriering, and forwarding. These are what she says she is qualified for.
This is just an example of you don't need to have a degree to be anything.
Yeah.
Because her degree is all the way to the left, and what she's currently doing is all the way to the right. Like she has qualifications in marketing, but then she's the minister, ICT minister. So that's already proof that you don't even need a master's degree.
Yeah, I think that also just reflects our country in J. You know how some people have specific jobs, but they don't match with their papers. They don't, they get jobs, but they don't match with what they have, for school and stuff. Might have, a manager in charge of, procurement, but then they did development studies. So I guess that goes to what you were asking, Amanda, this obsession, because once you realize that you're someone who's actually not qualified for the job that you have, and there are better people there who could have gotten that job, you then now rush to try and, cover ground and get the necessary qualifications. So yeah, you're a manager for procurement, but you actually don't even have a diploma. And because you're a manager, you're someone who's supposed to be directing other people. And it's fast how people notice you don't know what you're doing. So you're you know what? I didn't go to school for this. You can afford it. You can actually afford to go to school, but you just don't want to and you don't have the time. Yeah. So you're let me fake this degree. let me buy this degree, let me pay someone to do this course, let me pay someone to do this thesis. And yeah, no one is going to find out. No one will be any wiser. Which is also like a scandal that happened in our own profession, where people converted their degrees in quotes. Because people were like, it takes so much time to do those exams.
Outside
Let
of
me
time.
just pay someone. So I think that's the problem. I think it's not really an obsession for excellence. It's more of, I need to cover this really big gap in my qualifications ASAP.
Outside of that, I also think that we, number one, we grew up, I remember, I don't know, it wasn't really said to me directly, but I know it's said to a lot of people, but like, it's like, oh, your degree gown, that's your first gown, right? You can't,
Your first husband.
that's your first husband. Before you wear a white gown, you must wear a black gown. Then you must wear a red gown. Then you must wear a white gown. So I feel like because of where we're coming from, maybe where Black people were previously disadvantaged and maybe could not go to universities, it's become such a... You really have to... It's a benchmark almost. You can't do anything in life without a degree. But then when you actually get the degree and then you start life and you realize that
Guys, that first husband isn't doing anything.
the
for
first
you.
husband isn't paying the bills.
It is not the provider I thought it was. Hey there, lovely listeners. So listen, running a podcast in Zimbabwe is quite the journey. It requires resources. And when I say resources, I mean money, time, and effort. Wondering how you can support us? Well, we've got you covered with Inbucks. Or World Remit if you're on the other side of the world and you'd love to contribute. Our Inbucks number is 077 810 3171. Whether it's the cost of a cup of coffee or a virtual high five, every little bit of your support counts. Remember, supporting our podcast isn't about funding our caffeine addiction, though it is in part, but your support keeps our podcast alive and thriving and helps us create more content, ensuring that our laughter echoes through your devices. Thanks again for being part of our community and for listening.
Flowing from what Chido said, I do think it's a generational thing because our parents, are coming from a generation where it was that post-independence boom, where you're the first Black people to be getting certain degrees and qualifications. And what happened post-independence, that was really the key. That was the thing that separated those that really made it in life to those that didn't.
Yeah.
Because you were the first crop of lawyers that were there. You were the first Black law firms that were there. If you look at the things that those guys were able to achieve with those qualifications and through those qualifications, one, you'd immediately get a job straight after university because there was a need for Black professionals and a market for Black professionals. And two, you could make a good living. And so for them, if they said me versus my siblings who didn't take school seriously, I did well. So what do I want? I want my kids to do the same thing. I want my kids to do the same thing. But now we are a generation where we're like, okay, my parents made it because they got a degree. Let me also get a degree. But now there's like 5,000 of you with that LLB. And there just aren't as many jobs.
Yeah.
So I think we're stuck in the formulas that worked in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah.
And now we're in an economy and in an environment where like everybody's a lawyer.
It's actually now so boring. It's like, bruh, can you actually be something more?
But I
I'm sorry,
also
I know
think
I'm a lawyer, we're lawyers, but...
it could be, particularly for this one person, justifying the position that she holds. Right? Because looking, like you're saying, reading what she actually studied, isn't even giving her the benefit of the doubt that she actually holds the degrees that she says she does. Right? But now the position in government that she's holding that have nothing to do with it, right, also begs a lot of questions as to why and how, right? And then now she's saying, oh no, but I'm a doctor, whatever, right? So that at least boldens up her respectability. So like, take me seriously because I'm a doctor of whatever. But see, my whole thought process is, if you're a doctor in like women's studies, all right, but you're in the Ministry of Agriculture, I'm still going to say I would rather the master's degree person in agriculture, because they at least know what happens to the land. Your doctor, just because you are a doctor in some other random thing, doesn't help further government initiatives at all, right? And I do think there is that thing of like, oh, call me doctor, whatever. And I kind of feel like somebody did say, like, also just the title of it, like, if you wanted a doctorate, you could get a doctorate very fast and very easy. They're giving away doctorates. Churches are giving away doctorates. All of a sudden, you're a doctor of theology after going to like 2 Saturday courses. Now you are capped and gowned and you're putting everything, oh, doctor, whatever. People are calling you doctor, whatever. And if you don't know the backstory of how this person became a doctor, you might be disillusioned into thinking, oh, this person is important, right? Because the title makes you important. And I do think Zimbabwe is we really like titles. We like Mr.
That's the problem.
We like Mrs. Already, if you're not a Mrs., we like engineers, council. You know, like we actually like titles.
Anyway, don't call me counsel.
Oh, council.
Like, I will not even tell.
But what does that mean? How does that translate into my pocket?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's fine if you have like a title and you're actually like making money with the title. It makes sense. Back to Amanda's question about, is it then important? Okay, it's common cause that we know people are going around and buying these degrees and whatever. So is education really that important anymore?
Well, education in general.
Is it important?
Obviously, higher level. We're talking about masters and PhDs.
But university in general, firstly, is that still relevant? Maybe even
that's a great
speaking
question.
globally as well as locally. And then secondly, after your first degree, do you need a master's? Do you need that second master's? Some even third master's?
Yeah.
Do you need that doctorate? Do you need that honors level thing?
I think it's like a vanity metric. It's like, it's just to get social stand.
Big word.
Word
of the day.
Vanity metrics. So I think I would like to draw a parallel, a bit of a funny parallel. It's like, pretty privilege, right? So like, if you find out someone attractive stole from a bank, like, why would you do that? You're pretty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or even that guy, this guy Luigi, who was like trending, like, I think beginning of this year, who shot the CEO, and they're like, no.
Pretty boy.
Yeah, they're like, yo, free him, etc. So it's like, I've heard
Didn't
a lot
they even pay for his bill application?
Yeah, they were actually trying to pay.
They're actually still crowdfunding because his trial is coming up now.
Oh my god.
Imagine. And you hear a lot of
He's
Zimbabweans.
cute. Ish. Not get away with murder cute though. Okay.
A lot of Zimbabweans will be like, yo, but I need degree. Like, I need degree is like, it excludes you from so many things.
Yeah.
It's like, but I need degree. They should be doing this or doing that, So I think it's definitely just a social thing. So when you get the master's doctorate, it's for your bragging rights. It's like,
But you know what's so funny? Do you know how many times I've heard like, sees like some kid got caught doing drugs or something, and like became degree. Imagine, it's almost like I need a degree. Imagine, like okay, so as opposed to the guy who doesn't have a degree,
so it's like,
drugs are fine if you don't have one.
have a degree, but if you have a degree, it's even more
It's
Devastating.
more scandalous.
And there's people who've been on campus.
Oh,
How much drugs are being taken
Mate.
on
on the campus. Oh,
I don't know.
Degree is wild. It's my paper getting me. I go back to this thing. It's nice to have prestige, guys, but the
yeah.
paper that I got at graduation must translate into paper into my pockets.
Fair.
So if I get a paper, I'm doing masters, I'm doing PhD, I'm doing whatever, and I don't get a job, then what is the point?
Also, you do all of that and now you're overqualified and nobody wants to hire you anyway.
What's the point?
I think that we also need to, particularly kids who are maybe like high school leavers, I think it's so important to look at where the world is going, right, in terms of skill set. Because you'll find that you might not even need to sit 5 years of your life going to university. Because for what? If you were to just learn how to code, you don't need to go to university for that. You can learn how to code. You could even be naturally adept to learning these things, right? You could even be one of those kids who used to just open up laptops and phones and just know how to do things. You're better off just kind of building on those skills and then leveraging that rather than going to university to study English or to study, I mean, no offense.
I studied English.
That's why I said no offense.
But okay, here's a throwaway question.
Why am I saying English? Oh, sure, I actually didn't ask you.
Here's a throwaway question, right? If we all become coders and we all become makeup artists, we all become hairdressers because we all learned it on YouTube, then who's gonna be the doctor and the lawyer and the
There's
accountant?
always going to be there. They'll always be there.
They'll be there. For me, I'm just from what Chido was saying, I'm thinking, how are we going to tell our African parents this? Because people are breaking their backs to send kids to these universities right now. And it's still happening. I would understand for our generation, but now the 2Ks and going younger, that's still the same path that they seem to be being streamlined into. And parents are really going out of their way because people can't afford it. But right now, people are sending their kids out of the country. People are literally, breaking their backs to be able to go and have your kid get that degree. And then what happens? They go to a country, fine, they'll take them. South Africa will take you nicely, but they know they ain't keeping you there. Like other places, at least they'll give you that graduate visa to say, maybe stick around, see what you can do if you like the vibe here, and we might keep you. But then there's other countries where you know that your kid is going to China and they're going to come back with the Chinese degree to them. Now you have a graduate,
And
you think,
India, there's a lot
this
of kids
was, there's
studying
a lot of
India.
India happening. There's people like literally raising funds, putting together the last cents that they have to send their kid to India, where there's a limitation in terms of what you can do. Even people who are studying medicine, you know that you're not going to be a doctor in Russia, India, or anywhere. So you come back here. Come back to Zimbabwe, find your kid has come. You guys even saved money. You were able to go to India for graduation. You took the
You had a party. You even had a party.
It's so true.
You said that money, now the kid is here. We're excited. 1 month,
Our doctor.
3 months, 4 months. Okay.
And remember,
You start praying now.
Mwana wangu doctor, mwana wangu lawyer, mwana wangu engineer.
Now we're praying. Now whatever. We're looking for jobs. It's just not there.
Mind you, now, like, for example, if you studied law, right?
Medicine.
Oh, yeah. Where you have to now come back, write exams.
And convert.
What if CLE says,
No.
not this degree, baby girl?
Yeah, there's people who went to places like Cyprus. And then you realize that no one recognizes what you did. So now you're here. Okay. Now your kid's getting depressed. Now they're doing drugs on the streets. There's no jobs coming. Now there's also that ego because you have a coward title. So now you can't be that Mwana who came. The whole church funded your degree. Now what are you doing? Yeah, an eco cash agent on the streets.
But this is the reality.
You get depressed. Now you're not working. And that's it. You're dependent on your parents. You're in your 30s now.
And you know what? On top of that conversation regarding even going to uni, I've had so many conversations so many, Jesus, I can't even begin to tell you, of parents telling their
Jesus.
kids, to tell you, of parents telling their kids what degree to do.
Yeah.
Right. Especially, obviously, people know she's a lawyer. So everyone who wants their kid to be a lawyer says, please speak to my son. Please speak to my daughter. Please.
Tell them don't do it.
Literally, and I'm always saying I'm the worst person because genuinely what I will say to your kid is, mate, don't do it. And I think my approach has now, in recent years, post working, is to have, I always say to parents, I don't want to speak to your kid, I want to speak to you. Let me have a conversation with you and your husband or you and your wife, and let's actually talk about this seriously. Because I will not in good conscience go speak to your kid
And encourage
them to do something that they've already told you they don't want to do, right? But you're forcing it because you're saying my kid needs a profession. They can always do whatever else they want to do, but they need a profession to fall back on, right? And that is always the reason I want my kid to at least have something to fall back on. Law, you can't fall back on it 10 years from now. Mate, you're starting again. It doesn't work, right? But listen to your kid. What does your kid want to do? Because a lot of kids who even say, oh, I like to do like make drawings, but what's the animation? Right? And the parents are like, you want to draw cartoons? Well, like, what is that? And I'm telling you, have you watched animes, friend? Have you watched cartoons even? There are people
are watching anime.
There are people who are being paid massive monies to draw the cartoons that you're thinking your kid, all he wants to do is, and the only reason, and I can tell you from a lot of the conversations, is because they just don't know how to tell their friends what their kid does. They don't know how to say. Yeah, they don't know how to say.
You can't say to your friends, well,
Is an animator. And then they'll say, what is an animator? And then they say, oh, he draws cartoons. Like, they don't want to say that. They want to say my kid is a software engineer.
I'll say this, before I won awards, my parents had no idea how to, like, what does he do? But then now,
Award-winning.
Award-winning. You can Google him. He's on this. I'm like, this obsession with titles. Even when I graduated, I remember I was holding my degree certificate and my award, right? And my dad was going around with the award. Look, he's the best male psychology student. And I'm like, but this is the degree, right here. This is what I actually went, And it's this obsession with titles, and it's an ongoing, it's a fight, to be honest, because black families. Look at Lewis Hamilton, Serena, Venus Williams. All these people from when they were kids, they already knew these kids, tennis, car racing, whatever, but we don't have that here. We hardly have that. It's like...
I kind of understand why we don't have it. Going back to what Amanda was saying, our parents, they believe that this is what works. So they're like, okay, my kids, you need to get a degree because that's when you get a job. Then you get into a job for 25 years like me, and you're going to get a house, you're going to get a car, you're going to get this. So this is what they know, and this is what they think they know will work. So now when you then say, okay, we're going to follow your dreams and support you in this venture, it's like you're blind. You don't know if your kid is going to succeed. You don't know how much artists even make in Zimbabwe. You don't even know where people go and learn how to mix music and do all of these things. You're like, I don't know. And the little that you do know is from the radio, or artists who have gone left, and you're like, my kid is not doing that. I get it, but at the same time, I feel like parents right now should be able to understand that even if I do go through those 5 years, I'm not getting a job. And at the end of the day, that's what I need to get. I need to get a piece of paper that gets me somewhere where I can live my dreams and buy a car and buy a house and support myself. There's no point in getting a paper and then at 40 you're still at home. It doesn't make sense. So I don't know how we're going to be able to shift that. because it definitely is what they know. So very few people, like what you were saying, could about someone doing like animation or whatever. I actually know someone who's now working at Pixar.
Yay.
So he did like art, but he fought, he really fought for that to happen.
Yeah.
And also because he's the last born in his family,
They counted him out anyway.
That also did count. Because the first born is a doctor, the other one is a lawyer,
so you could Skype
the other one does IT, I think, and then the last born is like, okay, you want to draw.
It's okay.
But I'm sure in the next 10 years he'll be making way more than
Way
his
more.
siblings.
Yeah. Way more.
But yeah, I guess
Pixar.
Like you said,
Exactly.
like we're shackled by this idea that academia is the way forward. But there's so many, I'm thinking of the Noah Lyles, you know, who from a young age, in this country, we don't even have like a proper academy of like sports to say, if my child was really good at sprinting, for example, right?
Where do I go?
Those are opportunities that you can
Wasted
take
talent.
advantage of. I was at a funeral, I think 2 weeks ago or something, and so because it was like the family are big on tennis, right? They were basically like the royal family of Zimbabwe tennis, and so they were just talking about, because there's a lot of people in sports, and this one lady was like, yo, Zim swimming has gone down
By far.
significantly, and people are like, what is the Minister of Sports and Culture doing about this? Because there are so many kids out there who
A
are
whole
actually
Olympic
talented.
swimmer yourself.
She was a good example of, you don't have to have a college degree, but you can do something else and
She's
succeed.
also the same trap of like title. She's a gold medal winner, so let's make her the minister. We're missing the point of knowing that there's a job and a space for everybody and a role for everybody to fill.
she could have started the academy rather.
Yes, do the grassroots, because she went through that whole process.
Yeah.
You know how to create a good process or
Yeah.
a good system.
You could
because
coach.
you've been there. You can
Because
coach.
that's an administrative role. It doesn't
Yes.
mean that if I've won a gold medal, I can push the
You can
ministry.
push the ministry.
And I think that's just where we lose it. But before I forget, I actually had a question for Six. As somebody who got the degree and then was like, nah, I'm doing my thing now. What is the experience of that? And if you could go back and do it your way, would you still get the degree?
So I remember straight after high school, I wanted to go and actually study sound engineering at a school in Cape Town. And I brought the topic to the like, fam, that is not happening. So I kind of settled on my degree. I was just like, you know what, let me just go to college, because it also be a way for me to also sharpen my craft, because I'm pretty sure there's also going to be creatives there anyway, or in a similar situation. So when I went and I did psychology. So while I was doing psychology, I think when I was like final year, I kind of had like a pretty good idea that like, look, I ain't really I'm not trying to be straight, you know, like this ain't really, you know. So initially my idea was kind of like, okay, let me just hone my skills as a musician and then go and study cyber psychology as my master's degree. I was just like, you know what, it's got tech involved, you know, it'll keep people quiet. And
You did a master's?
No, I didn't. I just did a bachelor's. So when I graduated then, graduation ceremony, everything's dope. You got that first gown. Then I'm home and it's like, okay, so the plan for you is like you have to go and do your master's. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me do that. And I applied to like UK, Canada, etc. And I got all these places, right? But then the whole thing was like, find a scholarship, right? Get a scholarship, right? And I was like,
always the case.
you know, and I went through so many interviews, these schools going like, yeah, I would love to have you. And I'm like, scholarship, they're like, you know? And at that point in time, it just kind of seemed like pointless, because first of all, I was just doing something which I didn't believe in. I didn't want to do this anyway. So it was actually a blessing in disguise, because that's when I actually now doubled down on the music. Because it was like, okay, look, if I wait around and try and play along, it will get to a point where it's just like, go out there and do anything. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, nah, I don't think there's one way of like creating a career and stuff like that. So it was definitely a big fight. It was a big fight because my family is super academic. Like everyone, it's like degrees, masters, what. So even till this day, it's like it's this friction, you know, because they're like, why are you, you know, in the music industry, on a degree, you know, type of thing.
I also want to say, though, that I think Zimbabwe is doing us a disservice.
Yeah.
Just as in general. I think parents, like we're saying, do what they know. So, to their credit, it's because that's what they know works, right, in the country. So, it's not like they're not trying to steer you off into, you know, like off a mountain or anything, right? But that's what traditionally has worked. That's what they see continue to work. So that's what they're going to push you into. I think the disservice that Zim itself is doing for us is that we are also not expanding our parents' knowledge. Right, it's us who's constantly teaching our parents how to do things. It's us who teaches them how to use Facebook appropriately. It is us who teaches them. All of a sudden, they discover TikTok. All of a sudden, they're on Instagram. You know what I mean? And it is us who have to go through the labor of saying there's a world out there that
is bigger
than that, and trying to convince them that it's possible. And I think there's lots of people that have managed to break through that we can point to, but not enough, right? Because everybody knows Kevin, but if some kid from high school says, I want to be an event planner, chances are their parents are going to be like, you're not Kevin, go to school. Do you know what I mean? And because he's one in... you know, there's not that many Kevins that like your parents is also scared to say what will make you that person, right? Like I still, at least at the very least, fine, if you want to do this event thing, then how about you go first study accounting or go
do
first
catering,
go do culinary school, or go do business management, or go do
gaslight the hell out of you. Yeah. When have you ever planned anything? In the house. We've never seen you. There's been weddings. Why have you not?
Why haven't you planned?
Never even shown any interest. Now you're telling us this is news to us.
You see, like,
oh my God.
there's only a few people. There are many clothing designers, but none of them that have managed again to break through like in a big way that will make parents say, okay, actually, this is a viable thing to do. But they're thinking, do you know how much I'm going to have to labor to even get you through this culinary thing just for you to come? You don't even cook my tembe at home. Now you want to start... now you want to start telling me about caviar. Are you mad? Like, no.
The disservice I thought you were going to talk about could have actually jobs.
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the big ones. Do you know what happens? Usually, it's okay. I can get your degree that you want me to do and then find a job and I'm able to sustain myself. Then I'll do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But you can't even do that right now. So you just collect the degree that your parents wanted you to collect. And then either you're lucky enough to find a job and that job is making you miserable, or you now have that one paper, so you're not just looking for that job to sustain you. But now if we were in a place where our economy was actually working, you would be able to pivot and do other things and pay for your own school. Like you don't need to be now depending on your parents to pay for your master's at 30. It doesn't make sense. So I think that's the disservice I would look at. It's jobs and the economy. Because if I do the 5-year psychology, it's fair and fine. Take it. You can even give him, frame it, hey dad, this is your degree. I'm now getting a job and I'm finding my own way and I'm going to pay for what I want to do. But we don't even have the money at our fingertips to do that as young people. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Personally, I think we're doomed.
And what Koda was saying about like parents are the biggest problem in this.
Yes.
In this,
But they pay for it, so
It's their money.
It's their money, definitely.
Okay, but pay for the thing I want,
Yeah.
right?
I can't because I don't know if it will work.
You don't know if the thing you want works
At least I know Uncle Thomas will be able to
damn,
do
man.
something for you when you're done.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a risk.
I think what's even scarier is just the fact that we're all streamlined into feeling like you don't have options outside of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the scariest group of kids are the ones who end up doing the law degree, not because they want to, but also because they didn't have something else that they wanted enough that they could fight for,
Yeah.
or even convince anyone. They're also confused. And I won't lie, as someone who is lecturing law students, those kids don't do well. Maybe even someone who was a law student, those kids don't do well because your heart is not there. And if you don't like that thing, law is one of the worst things you could just do, Nje, while you're figuring yourself out.
I'm trying to figure myself
Like, I mean, for me, at least I knew that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that gives you an edge because you're then able to push through the difficulty of it on its own and fight through the market to kind of find a space.
And you can pivot.
Yeah,
still.
and you can
Because you
pivot.
can now see to say, this is okay, I've done the law, I needed the law, but I can do advocacy. I can go into corporate. I can go into IP.
Yeah.
I can go into litigation. You can pivot in the way that you want it. If you never wanted it, you're going to be an intern for life.
And and it's so sad because it's always that stage of Form 4, I guess, or even Form 3, or even from the beginning, where it's like either you're a science student or you're an art student. Art students are screwed because if you're an art student,
You're a lawyer.
the only serious thing you can do is law.
according to parental.
According to parents, but even according to the narrative that's happening even at school level.
Yeah.
You can't be a
It's like,
journalist. What is
degree are you
that?
going to do?
What
And then
does
if
that
you
mean?
can't do law, then the journalisms and them sort of are a bit better. But then if you don't fall into any of those categories, you are stuck. And
Also, do we not think these things that we do, people are way too young to be deciding? I feel like, can't I take a gap year?
Gap year. In an African household.
You're struggling to even take me to India. You're crowdfunding. Can I take 1 year to actually decide what I want to do in life?
Yeah.
It's my life at the end of the day. I feel like we do things so quickly and just like, okay, what did you say? Form 3. You're now at, what if you'd given me a year and I really liked bio? Like, can't I do that as well?
that's it, you're screwed.
Then you're
done.
screwed.
I would say actually that I prefer the way that I did law, which is the 5-year one.
Yeah,
right.
same.
Because it gave me, I knew I was going to be a lawyer. Listen, there was no, and I knew that. I knew that from 11. I knew, okay? But the year of my first year, where I wasn't doing anything legal related, right? And they just said, pick any course you want to do, just make sure you pass enough to make it into law school. The amount of things that I did a bit of social work, which was so fun. I was going to prisons, I was going to drug rehabilitation centers. I said, wait a minute, I could actually do this, which is how I ended up. So my first degree being the sociology degree, because I ended up saying, wait, I actually really like this, right? And it was nothing that I ever thought about. But the more I did it, I said, there's something in it. You know, I did gender class and 6, I think is what it was called, that class. I did philosophy for a hot minute. I did languages for a hot minute. You know, I actually did a lot of like different things, and I think as we were going, I ended up seeing a lot of kids that did come to say, oh, I want to do law, not wanting to do law anymore. All of a sudden, they wanted to do the languages, and they wanted to do psychology. They wanted to do anthropology. Some people went random and went to do
For
sea
me,
studies.
I almost jumped. I won't even lie. I did also the 5-year route. For those who don't know, it means you do your first degree in anything and then you make it into law school. I did computer science in second year. And I had never even thought about it as something that I could do. Why? Because computers were almost nothing at my school. Our practicals were food and nutrition, fashion and fabrics, and art. I can't draw to save my life. I don't want to sew. And food and nutrition was fun because we got to eat in class. But had I done IT, I would have discovered that I'm really good at coding. And I liked it so much. I used to spend more time at the labs than doing law. And if I had started it in first year, I swear I was going to change. But because I started it in second year, I would have had to completely change everything and finish off computer science and leave that. And then I ended up still doing law. But yeah.
I think that one's difficult in the sense that, like, some of us, guys, I feel like parents are really, like, into things. So you can be like, I want to change, I want to do this. But you might have a parent like mine. My dad would ask for results. Yeah. So he would it basically felt like he was at orientation with me. Because when I went for the first day, I don't know if you remember, in the, like, humanities department, they give you, like, they tell you which subjects do you want, then they give you a paper, then they explain to you, okay, these are the ones you're going to do, whatever. He wanted pictures for that. That law degree was equally his as it was mine, in the sense that you would also want the results. So you write your exams, he needs to see, like, oh, you're not doing well in this, and you're doing that, and all of that. It's nice to have a parent who's like that, in the sense that they're trying to be there with you. Yeah. It's difficult if it's not something you want to do. So I do have a friend who started in the law route. He's from Uganda. And he was saying in Uganda, like some of us, you are either a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And that's it. And he started law school, like, before us. I think he was a G12. And he was struggling. It wasn't for him. And because his parents weren't, like, in his business, he was able to transition. So he did economics, and then he told them, oh no guys, I'm doing another year for honors. He did honors economics. He said, hello guys, come to my graduation.
Upon graduation, they realized it was...
On the graduation, that's when they realized he'd done an economics degree and none of this law stuff. His dad believed that economics was a lesser subject and it should be done by women.
Quick question, where is he now?
First of all,
he's making money.
Thank you.
He's literally living his dream. So I guess it depends also. We can give advice and say change up and whatever, but at the same time, if your parents are that extra, it might not be as easy.
I think we have to fight.
I think good to fight, Amanda.
No, I'm serious. Especially,
I'm speaking from a place where... Yeah, I'm actually speaking from a place where, one, I'm a firstborn child. Two, that was the first degree to be gotten in my father's side.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
hard.
It's not, she's just going to university. No.
You were representing
I feel
the
like
clan.
to an extent you can fight, but at the same time know your battles.
Yeah.
So you can be like, okay, I really want to do this. Why not double major? They can come for the degree, but I know in the back I also have this one.
And there's always...
It makes sense.
The parents always hit you with the get mine and then 2 years later.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, they are also paying.
Yeah, get yours, right? Do mine
So
first.
I don't think it's an easy, clear cut, do what you want. It's just I don't know, you need to, like, try and maneuver.
That's what I'm saying, that if parents were given, if they could see that it works in other places, then they'll be able to adjust. It doesn't even cross their minds because they've never seen it. They can't fathom it. I can't think of any comedian, for example, who is probably really good, right? Think of, like, King Kandoro, great. Slick Pastor, great. I I'm pretty sure when they first told their parents were like, "What in the hell?" You know, the only you know, we're now thinking of like people, the closest to home would be like Trevor Noah, everybody else, another Kevin Hart, they're too far. Our parents would be like, I don't go to America, it doesn't even work. You know what I mean? Trevor Noah then left to go to America, it doesn't even work.
But you see, that's also an example of these are the opportunities that could come through.
Yo, guess what you make us love.
Tell a joke.
I've never seen you tell any joke. Show us
what you were saying about.
If you can't do it at home, where will you do it?
Amma, you sound like a scary parent. I don't want to be a child. Like,
No,
I'm scared.
I'm just channeling you. Because I've seen it.
We need to
As
do
a
better.
firstborn, though, just be like, yo, you know what it means to be a firstborn.
Yeah, you're sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, that's a thing as well, where it's like everybody always finds the need to tell me, do you know all these kids are looking up at you?
Yeah.
And it's even like cousins, whatever, because I'm like first grandchild.
Yeah.
So it's like, Unkwana Honingi, who's 16, they're actually looking to you.
And you're like, stop looking. Close your eyes.
Always say like, yo, don't even give me pressure. Like this whole thing of even just things like they're looking to you. You have to get married first because they're all looking to
The way you dress.
you're gonna be waiting for a long time.
You need to get comfortable with just like making people like uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah.
That's just the only way to do it, because like I also get exactly the same chats. And right now, my dad was like, my age mates now have grandkids.
Yeah.
Imagine, I was like, what's this?
You should say good for them.
nice.
Good for them. That's so nice.
That's good for them.
Go babysit.
And they'll be on case. They'll be on case, especially like even during like December when family was here. The worst part is that you think the people who are from first world countries, who see these success stories in real time, would get it. But I think there's like a deep-seated fear with them, where it's like they can't look beyond, like it has to be like this.
Because they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why it's also
That's why they can't
it's also
see it,
their degree, because they're like, okay, I couldn't get to this spot, but I've helped my kid to get here. What are we doing next? Then they'll be like, okay, engineer, lawyer.
They also want the prestige. It's really back to the prestige. Right?
It has nothing to do with the
The
except
firstborn thing is it's unfair because, like, I think of my sister. She's the oldest, and she's the creator of the family. She and my parents, it was a clash from jump. She wanted to do fine arts in uni. My dad just was like, "What the hell is that?" And then it was worse because they did let her do it, and then she didn't finish it. She then pivoted to something else. Probably also with pressure in between, because she's saying that, okay, this isn't what I thought it was. That pressure of changing your mind, my dad would have a field day. You see, the thing of it. You see, we let her do what she wants now, this, and that.
Then it's also pressure for you guys.
Long story short, the tension never stopped. Now she's overseas. I think she's managed to build a nice life for herself. She paints for a living. She's doing like social work. Like she's really, found herself, she's in an environment where she can. But the relationship with the parents, still, it just has never been okay. Some of us were lucky because one year a bit younger, there's a bit less pressure to please them. But also, if you happen to do something that's orthodox and you happen to fit into something that they understand, then things go a lot smoother. But so it's not tough for the firstborn, because it's either you're going to go along with it and be unhappy, or break away and risk the fact that the relationship will also be tense and severed.
But we really need to move on from hiring people because they have certain degrees. Because, I don't want to lie to you, hey, getting a degree sometimes is not that hard. And like I say that I say that very like respectfully, because lots of people can test well, right? Lots of people are very smart. Intelligently, Zimbabweans are smart. Give me anything, I'll figure it out, right? I can get a degree, come on. But am am I qualified to actually know what to do with it? Particularly when we're now talking about people in higher places and positions, people that are bosses and CEOs and managers, people that are in government, where you as the younger one coming in, you're looking at this person who's supposedly supposed to be very smart, and you're asking yourself, my God, what do you know? You know, and you lean on me because you know I know, all right? But you don't even know how to do your own job, all right? And now you're just in this position because you want to call yourself CEO. But what do you know about running a business? What do you know about accounting? What do you know about business development? What do you know about, you know, like running a business in itself is not, it's not easy. You don't wait. Exactly. I want to run a business because I have this degree. So because I'm a lawyer, I need to have a law firm. Hey, do you know the amount of compliance that goes with having a law firm, the amount of accounting and auditing and all these things? Do you understand what that means? No, but you just woke up and you said, I want to be a business owner because I want people to call me Mr.
That's
whatever.
another problem.
What are you talking about?
Perhaps for another episode, but I feel like that's the problem with businesses in Zimbabwe currently, where it's just particularly like smaller businesses where somebody just wakes up and says, you know what, I have a good idea and I'm going to make a business out of this. Cool. But then you don't know how to run it. And then because you don't know how to run it, you end up running the business down. Because you're not a leader. Right?
Yeah.
You don't know how to delegate.
And you don't know how to delegate. You don't know how to deal with people. You know, there's so much. It's so nuanced. Being a boss doesn't just mean you get to sit on a fancy chair behind a big fat desk. It means a lot more than just cashing in lots of stacks because now my business is making profit.
I was at an event recently where the people that founded businesses, right, they said, we are founders, we're visionaries. We're not managers, we're not bosses.
Yes.
My entire job is to come up with a new product and then tell the team to develop it. And then I go and I make a new one, right? And I go off and I go make a new one, right? But if you want to be the founder, the manager, the CEO, the director, the accountant, your business, it's not going to work because normally people that are visionaries, if you have the skill of coming up with ideas, right, you don't know how to put that idea into something meaningful, right? And there are some people who don't have ideas. We are not good at coming up with ideas, but give me an idea and I can make it into something, right? Yeah. But you need to be able to know where your skills start and go. And this here of hiring marketers to be ministers of ICT is ridiculous and we need to work it out, figure it out, people, because you're harming us more than anything. Yeah. And having a doctorate is not very important.
It's not.
Calm down.
Basically, having a degree ain't shit.
All right. So, guys, to close it off, I want to go around the room. You are talking to yourself in upper six. Just a short sentence. Knowing what you know now, and maybe helping somebody who is where you were then, what are you saying to them? Chido, let's go.
I would say don't sell your time because your time is going to run out eventually. Sell a product. That's what I would say.
Okay. Did you hear that, little Chido? Okay, any takers? I'll go next. There's more. There's more in the world, girl. There's more to life that you don't even know about, that you haven't conceived. So don't set your sights so much on this one thing. I know you want it and you can get it, but just open your eyes, explore, and discover the world, because there's so much more, and you don't have to stay in that little box. There's more.
I would say, hi, little Kuda. Don't take yourself too seriously. really calm down, right? Because see what you future self, I'm telling you, right, that you also spent a lot of time in uni being serious. And that wasn't the time for that, right? And you need to don't take yourself too seriously. You're going to get the degree anyway, but open your mind. Go do things that you wouldn't normally do. Go do activities. Go jump off something. Go swim places. Go do things. You know, not every day library. Not every day I have to study. Not every day taking notes. You know, bunker class. It's fine. You will be okay. But like, see what other people are into. Go try new things. Go find new people, okay? You have friends. You don't have to stick to that core group of friends forever. You're allowed to move on and make new friends and try different things. I ain't talking about you. You weren't with me, okay? You guys weren't with me. But the point I'm trying to make is the only people I hung out with were my friends in uni, right? Up until only when I started doing like orientation did I start meeting people from Nigeria and America and the UK and the whatever. But for a long time, even then, I stuck to my core group of people, whereas maybe somebody from, I don't know, Russia could have taught me something. But because I was so focused and so serious about like, I only play with my friends, I only do things with my friends, I only do things that are safe, I only, you know, and also I gotta study. So just don't take yourself too seriously. You'll be fine.
Amen. You said upper six, right? I would say beg for that gap year. Beg for that gap year. Because after first year, it's a lot of work and you have to be ready for that. And you might find something really interesting in that 1 year that you would be able to support enough to go in a different direction. So beg for a gap year. Guys, how many years is that? 13 years in school is a long time.
Non-stop.
13 is a long time. Ask for just a break. I know they're trying to like save up as much as they can for you to
Run
go
away.
to school.
Get married.
Run away.
Beg for that gap year, girl. Try and like try your best. And tell them like, you'll be like, no, it's for you guys to save so that I can go to a good school. Or like hide the applications you've gotten, the approvals. Just be like, I didn't get in. But make sure you get that gap year. What else did I say?
Go to Grahamstown. Run away, go to PE, find a boyfriend.
What?
Stay there for
Little Anyasu, this is not Anyasu. This is
Actually, can I say something? Can I come back, but not upper six, but now little Kuda in uni, right? There is no shame in taking a break, right? Even in uni, if you don't succeed in getting the gap year, let me tell you, universities are very happy to give you a year off. They're very good at giving you time off to go deal with your mental health. They're very good at just saying, come back when you want to. If you feel like you need a break, girl, take it.
Take it. Yeah, but I definitely pray for that gap year, girl. Cry. Say you're not ready. And you're not. You're really not. You're just 18. So, yeah, take that gap year. Explore, have fun.
Damn. I think I would say to my younger self, you're not crazy. Like your ambition is valid.